Hello ladies and gentlemen, the current time is 4:31 a.m. I got off work at about 3 a.m. and couldn't sleep, so I figured I might as well get this done. I'm also a little behind on schedule for the album, so I might as well do it while I'm thinking about it and not forcing myself to just stress about it later on. Hey, it's me from the future. The song's finally done now, but I'm still going to go through the process of making it. Right now, I just kind of want to go over everything, just in case there's anything I missed over the last few days of making the song. I was really sleep deprived, and I say it a lot in the recordings. So basically what I want to do is just kind of run through the basis of what I did now, and I'll add any details from the last few days later on in the video. So really what I wanted for this final song was I wanted something that kind of blended all of the previous songs together into one big epic song that ends the album. So I took bits and pieces from Indexicality, from Visuomotor Values, from the Paywall, and from Catharsis, and I kind of just shoved it all together and experimented with it, and it was actually a lot of fun. So to put it bluntly, one thing that I took from Indexicality was the strings and the brass section that came at the end of Indexicality, and I actually did put it at the end of this new song, and kind of just let it fill the sound up a little bit more so that it doesn't sound quite as boring or empty. From Visuomotor Values, I took the drum pad that I use on my keyboard and added really subtle notes. Specifically, during the bridge, the really quiet part of this song, I added in a little hi-hat sound that was playing a bossa nova rhythm. From the Paywall, I actually took quite a few things. The drums for this new song is actually still the same computer-based drums, even the same kit, and I kept it that way because they're literally perfect. I can't screw things up, and sometimes it sounds a little too fake, but again, it works better than anything I could do on my own, so I kind of rolled with that. On top of that, I took the distorted guitars, and I even threw a little guitar solo in there like I did with the lead parts of the Paywall. From Catharsis, I took those same ambient chord sounds. Well, you'll hear it in the song for sure. I forgot to mention, in Indexicality, I was using drumsticks to hit random objects, and during that same bridge quiet part, I added really subtle echoey sounds in the background, and that's actually me doing the same thing, hitting objects with drumsticks just to see what kind of sound I could get out of it. Basically, the song is really long because I wanted it to have this very beautiful end to it, but I also wanted it to be a full song on its own, and I wanted to take extra time to make sure I got bits and pieces from each song and put them in the right place. So the first thing I did was I found some chords on the piano and kind of just started that as my basis for the entire song. Then I found a decent sounding guitar riff surrounding those 4 chords that I used, and the distorted guitar riff is actually a little hard to hear in this, but it sounds really nice, and it's kind of a nice subtle little melody to add to everything. After that, I found a piano melody, and then I found some chords with that I could just use to kind of overlay everything. The bass was done on my keyboard, and it's very simple. It's just kind of like root notes, except for certain little parts where I add my own little like fills into it just for fun. Again, during the bridge, I used the same exact keyboard settings that I used for Catharsis, just have those little ambient sounds just kind of out in the open. I improvised a guitar solo somewhere in there, and that was actually really fun, except I don't really do guitar solos very often, so it was a little bit of a challenge getting it to where I at least thought it was decent, but again, lots of fun. To sum this up, the entire process took about 3 days, and that's why I haven't slept for most of it. I did get some sleep last night, which is nice, and I do say a lot of weird things in the other clips of videos because I really don't know what was going on. Like I said, I was extremely tired and just trying to get this done as soon as possible because it is due on Thursday, which is probably when this video will be uploaded along with all of the songs. Overall, I really love the song, but we'll get into that as the video goes on, and you'll hear more about some of the details in my uncomfortably sleepiness. In future parts of the video, you'll see what I did. Mastering the song wasn't really all that difficult. For most things, I just added a lot of reverb or distortion to the guitars. At the very end of the song, the very loud final epic finish, I actually triple layered the snare drum on the computer drums, and I did that because originally it was kind of hard to hear, and it really helped the overall sound of the drums at the end. Alright, let's see what happens in the rest of the video. So on that note, what I'm going to do is come up with a little chord progression on either guitar or piano, and I'm going to come up with a distorted guitar riff that I can use as paying homage to the Paywall. Hopefully this will be a little more surreal of a video. You'll actually see what it's like as I'm writing all of this out. Let's just jump right into this. So I'm not going to plug this in because, again, it's 4 in the morning, and there are people living upstairs would probably not appreciate me blasting guitar through my amp. So I'm going to play it without it. It'll be totally fine. Really all I'm going to do first is come up with like chords that make a good progression, and then after that I'm going to use the basis of those chords to make kind of a more metal guitar riff. It's not in tune. Give me a second. Okay, now let's actually do this. Alright, so I think I found something I kind of like. In power chord form, it's A to F to C to G. And I kind of like that. And now what I think I'm going to do is come up with a melody of piano, and I'll come up with a metal guitar riff after I figure out what the melody is going to be. I'm going to need some coffee. I'm going to be up for a long time, and this really isn't going to be fun, but I need to get it done. I'm a little behind, so let's go ahead and run through that piano melody. I don't know if I want to spend time talking about how I came up with this, but it just follows those same chords. And the melody that I kind of came up with, at least to start out, is something like this. And that's what I'm going to use for the intro, I suppose. Now, that metal guitar riff. Now, I have this song structured a little bit differently than what I did for Indexicality and the Paywall. Basically, what it's going to be is an introduction, a kind of change in the introduction, so it's going to be kind of the same thing, but just a little bit different. Then a verse, then I'm going to repeat those three. Then I'm going to have a really quiet part where I use the same instrument settings that I used for Catharsis. Kind of like really chill chords, and I want that to last a little while and maybe have like a little change in there midway through, maybe add some drums. Then after that, I really want this just big like explosion of sound where I use all the instruments that pretty much all the instruments I've ever used in all of the songs. I want all of the strings and brass from Indexicality, and I kind of just want that to go on for a minute and just have this really loud and full sound by the time it ends. Eventually, I think that's going to kind of, not degrade itself, but I think like little things are going to change until it starts to sound like that intro part again. Then it's going to end kind of on that introduction sound. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to sound. I really just kind of want to see how that goes. Now onto the drums. I don't know if I mentioned this, but what I want to do is, rather than coming up with some new form of drums, I think what I'm going to do is use all of the types of drums that I've used in the past songs in this one altogether. And that might sound a little bit too much, but instead of using them all at the same time, I'm going to break it down so that each part has a different drum type. So I'm thinking for the introductions and verse and the very loud part at the end, I'm going to have the computer-generated drums from Cubase that I used for the Paywall. Even though they do sound really artificial, their timing is literally perfect, but that's fine. During the quiet parts, I'm going to use the book drums that I used in Indexicality. I might use something other than just a book. I might add something kind of different because, you know, variety. Okay, so I think next I need to come up with kind of a bass line and maybe a few more melodies to come up with. Really the only things I still need are melodies for either piano or guitar, and to figure out what the harmonies are going to be for the backing instruments like the strings and the trumpets and stuff like that. But yeah, I think right now I'm going to come up with a little guitar lead that I can play, and then I'll figure out the strings last because it's kind of the easiest thing, and I want to get the hard stuff out of the way as soon as possible. Alright, the time is officially 5:20 a.m. I've definitely got everything written. Guess it's just time to start recording. The first thing I need to do is lay out the drum tracks for the entire thing. I know to an extent what I want, so that's kind of a helpful thing. Outside of that, it's just kind of a general idea. Like, I know what I want for the structure, but I don't know what specifically I think I'd need for drums and, you know, inserts and stuff like that. But like I said, we'll get to it. It's one thing at a time, you know. So let's go ahead and get those drums mapped out. This is going to be a long and tedious process, and that's one thing that I don't like about the computer drums, is that it takes forever, but something you have to do, I guess. On that note, I'm going to sit in front of my laptop for a little while and get all this laid out and hope for the best. I didn't realize how awful this would be without writing down a script and not sleeping before I record, so I'm sorry if I forget anything. So the official time is 6:52 a.m., 6:53 a.m. and I spent quite a long time writing out what I thought was going to be a cool opening guitar solo, but now I don't know if I'm feeling it because I want to go to the piano and see what I can do with that. I don't think I'm going to do anything with the verses for like a melody. I think I'm just going to leave that as rhythmic as possible and not really think too much about, you know, adding a lot of lead parts or melody parts or whatever it may be. I think I might just leave that as like rhythm and just let it be that. Alright, the official time is 7:17 a.m. I've gotten most of the guitar parts done, all the way up to that quiet part, like I said. I added the keyboard, and I really think the piano melody really helped out the introduction. It's very minimal during the verse parts, which I like. I decided that a little ways into the intro, I'm going to add a guitar solo, and on the second verse, I'm going to add a little lead guitar part to give it a little more interesting parts. And on the second verse, I'm going to add a guitar lead part just to give it a little bit of variety rather than it just being the same thing over and over. After that, I'm going to record that really quiet ambient part. Then I'm going to go through that really loud part, and after that, I'm going to go through and do all of the drums. I don't know why I did it last this time. I don't know if I did it last before. Anyway, it's not the point. The point is I'm getting this song done a lot quicker than I imagined. Granted, it's already been about 3 hours or so, but considering how little I've slept, I think this is going alright. Okay, I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to go get the rest of this keyboard part done, or at least the piano. After that, I'm going to jump into that little quiet bridge and then get the loud part done and kind of let all of the song end. And then I'm going to go back and add the drums, which I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do with yet. It's day 2. I took a nap, and now it's 3:03 p.m., and I've been working for about an hour and a half, so that's not really when I woke up per se. But here we are. I don't remember what I talked about last time I had the camera on, but I did get that quiet bridge part done. Now what I'm doing is I'm adding a little bit of drums from the drum machine on my keyboard to give a little bit of a bossa nova sound to it. Basically what it is, it's a really complex rhythm part that I'm adding to a extremely basic drum beat from the built-in Cubase drums. On top of that, I got a guitar solo done for the opening and one for the verse as well. Also during this bridge, I added a lead guitar melody that sounds very similar to the Catharsis guitar melody. I'm really glad I managed to pay homage to that without actually just using the exact same thing. So that's pretty cool. Really, it's all a matter of just adding in little things and finishing the very end, which that's what I'm going to work on first. Whew, we're getting there. Okay, so the official time is 4 o'clock p.m. I've gotten all of the drums reworked all the way until the verse. So I've got the verse done for the drums, and I'm just going to repeat all of it for the introduction, and it's going to just continue on like that. Really, the only things I have left to do are adding in those little accent parts, like the book drums from Indexicality and stuff like that, and remapping the rest of the drums for the bridge and the ending of the entire song. Otherwise, I've gotten pretty much all of the instrumentation done. I'm going to go back and make a few changes, and after that, we'll be done. But on that note, I have to go to work soon, so I'm going to stop what I'm doing for a little bit and come back to you in about maybe 7 hours, and we'll probably be doing the same thing. Okay, I just got home from work. It is 2 in the morning of the next day, and really I don't have that much left to do. So I'm excited to get all of this done. I think I'm just going to power through it, and then I'll let you know what happens when I'm done. Alright, and on that note, the final time is 3:10 a.m. The drums took forever to get perfect, but I wanted them to be specific to what they are now in the final song, and I'm very, very happy with the way it all turned out. That final ending just really, really comes together well, and it flows back into the intro and takes certain parts from the beginning of the song and puts them toward the end, and it's absolutely perfect in my head. But I want to know what you guys think, so I'm going to show you the final song, and then I'll explain a little bit more about what I did. One last thing, for this one I'm not going to have any sort of footage behind the music. It's just going to be what I have now as the album art. It looks very amateurly made, but that was kind of the fun of it. Everything that I've made this entire album was very amateurly made, with maybe $90 worth of computer hardware and software. So that's kind of fitting, if anything. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling, and I'm going to let you guys listen to the song, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Alright, so there it was. This is the final song on the album. I've called it Uses and Gratifications. I think it's a very beautiful song, all things considered. I love the way it kind of moves from this sort of metal song into this beautiful, full-sounding ending to the album. I'm going to make another video about reviewing my own album, probably sometime in the summer, once I've gotten past the kind of I created this kind of thing. You know, I don't want to be biased to myself. I'm probably going to have a few friends review it as well. And long story short, I really love this song. I really like everything on the album. I know that it had certain problems going through it, but like I said, sometime during the summer I'll just talk about it once I get through it all. I'll have the entire album out on Bandcamp, SoundCloud, hopefully Spotify. I haven't really worked out everything just yet, but we'll get to it in time, and I'll leave links in the descriptions. And on top of that, all of the songs individually and the entire album are going to be placed on this channel, probably somewhere on this playlist. This is exciting. I've had a lot of fun making this entire album. I can't wait to do more stuff with music. I'm sorry if some of the parts of this video don't really make sense. I haven't slept in a few days because I've been kind of stressing about school and work and a few family issues. I just want to apologize if certain things that I say during this time period don't make a lot of sense because I haven't slept very much in the last few days. But the album's completely free and it's royalty free. You can take it and do whatever you want with it. I'm just happy to have made music in the first place. If anything, I really appreciated having to do it for a project for school because I think without that sort of pressure to get it done, I wouldn't have gotten nearly as much done with it. Not to say that I didn't have fun doing this, it actually really inspired me to do a lot more, and I'm excited to actually keep this channel going outside of this one school project. So, the only thing I have left to do now is edit this video and add all of the songs to the YouTube channel itself, as well as the other websites, and I will be done. Thank you guys so much for paying attention to any of this. I hope you learned a lot from it. I know I certainly did doing this on my own. It's been a complete blast, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Take it easy.